Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails. Guys, I've got kind of a special one today. This is something I was doing as part of a larger project that kind of fell through, but I was going to, as kind of as a celebration for hitting 5K subs, I was going to interview all of my family members and just do like a quick video of like, here's a bonus video of, what are your favorite 5 characters? And I just cut to various family members, and it's going to be an interesting editing project, and it kind of fell through. But what I did end up securing was, while I was on vacation, I managed to get an interview with my dad for about half an hour. I didn't realize it took that long, but I'm going to leave it there in its entirety. I watched it again. I really liked it. Obviously, I'm kind of biased, but it'll give you some insight as to, my past with gaming and whatever. If you want a little bit of history on X, this might be the one for you. I think the other really valuable piece of this, though, guys, is he's a casual fan and he has different takes on Star Wars, and I think that's so valuable and something to remember as super fans. If we all play a Star Wars game, the odds are we like Star Wars more than the average person. And so a lot of times this community has gotten together, like we collectively all hate episode 8, for instance. I'm not saying everyone does, but a lot of, that's the consensus. People have, it's mainstream now to hate on episode 8, and that's not always how the casual fan sees things. They don't care about some obscure little tidbit in a comic book or whatever, in some book that not everyone even knows exists. They just want to enjoy it for what it is. And so I hope you enjoy this. My dad's got some fun characters, some fun ideas, and I didn't feed him any of this. He came up with it himself. So that being said, folks, I hope you enjoy, and remember that in all things, X and his family, especially his dad, prevails. Fun with cameras. So guys, this is me interviewing my dad. What were they calling you on the stream the other day, Dad? Papa X.
Dad X. Papa X. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm here on vacation to visit you guys. Everyone's heard about my infamous vacation, where I've been making some videos, and this is slightly bigger than the closet that I had on my last vacation. That being said,
he brought his 2 little Wookiees with him, and they got a little more energy than I do. It's been a stretch keeping up with them, but
I feel like they have more energy than all adults combined.
no kidding. They could power a Star Destroyer,
Oh,
easily.
They could. I know. We just need a little hamster wheel for them. Yeah. Darth Vader's just good to go. He's set. Man, so one of my earliest memories of Star Wars, though, is watching Return of the Jedi, and you made me this really cool, awesome blanket fort to watch it from, and I, it was so cool. I remember Leia and Wicket, the Ewok, and they're getting shot at by some stormtroopers or whatever, and then ducking behind the cover, and I was like, I can do that. I can do that too. That's what we can. It was so cool. And you went to episode 1 with me when the prequels went out. It was, whereas you've never kept up with my rabid Star Wars fandom, really. It's, you have other interests, but you've always been a big part of Star Wars with me. You've been there. You've been part of it.
I've always supported. I feel like I've supported your Star Wars.
My Star Wars habit. Yeah.
Your Star Wars habit. I think I've probably bought a book or 2.
Oh, sure.
For you to read.
Yeah, all kinds of video games.
And in this Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes really doesn't surprise me too much. At one point, I think you were a teenager and you started playing Warhammer 40K.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't too long where he was beating all the older people in the area, and he started going to tournaments out of town, out of state. And he kind of got to be got kind of a name for himself regionally. You know, went to Chicago and Vegas and Denver and I don't know where all, but
Yeah, I went to a lot of them toward the end there.
So strategy games, you've been playing strategy games ever since we had what was that computer, a Franklin 64 that was,
Sure.
you were just a little shaver then. Maybe not little, but
Yeah. I mean, I played Battle Bugs a lot, and eventually that led to those Lords of the Realm. Lord of
Right.
the Realm. I remember Lord of the Realm Siege Pack. I was so obsessed. I needed that Siege Pack, the expansion for it. It wasn't as cool as they said it would be, of course.
Well, there was a lot of those games came through the house.
They did. Through your patronage, basically. So, I have you to blame and to thank. Maybe my wife, maybe Mrs. X has you to blame, and I have you to thank.
I haven't heard anything from her, but
Nah, she's pretty supportive, actually. She's pretty dang supportive, and you were the one who founded my computer that I could actually start streaming a whole lot sooner at a higher level than I had previously thought. So,
well, it's just a fun thing. We've been building computers together and upgrading computers for it's been quite a while. It's been a long time, and
yeah,
I'm just pretty happy that I'm able to send you a few components and you can make some sense out of them and put them together, and we come up with something good.
hey, yeah, it's all your legacy. I didn't learn that from anyone else but you. I tell you what, the last one, it wouldn't work. You pushed the button and you're like, oh, please, God, please work. Please don't let me smell something on fire.
It's always that way.
Yeah.
I think I'm finally starting to get over it, but it's always like, please, let's keep the smoke inside the box,
Right. Don't let me know about it if it's going on. Yeah. So I pushed the button and it wouldn't turn on, couldn't get it to work. I was talking about stress because you spend all this money on it, bought all these cool, new components, and I was like, I think it's the CPU. I think it is, and
it was.
I was like, well, thank God I wasn't just like put it in backwards or some random thing. So yeah, that's been kind of our thing for. You used to give me money for good grades you gave me grade money contingent on it being a computer part that I would upgrade my computer with.
I spent a lot more good grade money on your sisters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hurtful, but it's true.
I can't remember having to work overtime to pay you good grade money.
Yeah, I was always interested in everything else. Yeah, I ended up okay as a student. It took me, a decade or two to actually get there, though. So, yeah,
I'm proud of you.
Oh.
X.
It's all good. Someone told me the other day they researched my name like almost immediately if they wanted to find it. So, yeah, I appreciate it. Sometimes it just takes a while. Ended up with a 4.0 in grad school, so I feel like I righted the ship a bit at least.
Turned the corner. Well, that's true.
I probably needed to turn a couple corners if we're being just real honest, but hey, I never failed out of high school at least. Most of my schools I didn't fail out of. That's good. It's good to have a majority. So. Anyways, Dad, so one of the things, folks, that about my dad, like he doesn't do things in half measures, and when when he puts his mind to it, he's always had such a good mind and a good approach to things. Like that's why I credit a lot of my strategic anything to him, frankly, just because he's the guy who, I mean, you taught me how to play chess and everything. We didn't play it a ton growing up, but I mean, just seeing all the different things that you've done, like you always approach things just a little bit sideways of what the norm is, and like that is such a good way of doing things, especially in gaming. Like you need an angle, you need something different than the standard stuff, and so I mean, in this case, I just wanted to do a video on, just like a bonus video of like, hey, look, we got 5K subs, but I just wanted to ask the X family who their favorite Star Wars characters were, and I told my dad, and he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad you gave me time because I'm going to do some research and I'm going to look it up. Even though, guys, realize he's not a guy who's watched Star Wars 80 times. He's pretty casual as a fan, but he's noticed things over the years, and this is kind of the culmination of, like both, like making all these different observations through time and also through, and then doing a little bit of side research as well. So, Dad, I asked what your favorite Star Wars characters were, and maybe they're all the same as everyone else's, like Han Solo and etc., Darth Vader, but you had some characters that you wanted to just kind of discuss, like some of the...
Well, there's so much depth in the Star Wars saga. And, we can always, I think everybody could probably come up with, your top 5 characters, and most of them would be similar. And
Sure.
But the depth in the whole saga, there's just a lot of places in there where you feel good about it, and it's the smaller characters that give you that feeling, that give me that feeling, and that just, to me, just adds so much to the story. It keeps my interest and draws me in, rather than seeing just what Han Solo's doing,
Yeah.
It's the things going around it,
Yeah, what's his next one-liner going to be? Yeah, like it's more, you're right, like it creates that depth of like it makes it feel like it's a real place. It's not just some hokey set for one-liners or something.
So I started thinking about it, and there's really just a lot of these characters, but I think one of them that really, really pulled on me from the start was that the pod racer Sebulba.
Right.
Just what a villain.
What a tool. Yeah.
Yeah. He's great. He tells Anakin, your bantha fodder, Yoka to Bantha Pudu,
Yeah.
And it's just stuff like that is great. I just love that character. And I love the race. I just liked everything about it,
Oh, man.
The space slug comes out, and, he's waves the flag to get them all going. He's the master of ceremonies. And, it's just got everything in there. Sebulba, definitely.
The prequels have taken some hate by fans and everything, and whatever. We don't need to talk about that, but no one will ever be able to tell me convincingly that pod race isn't one of the best things ever in Star Wars. I just always loved it.
Well, it's great. There's just a lot of characters in that are just awesome. A lot of them are kind of cartoonish characters, but they're given a pretty good lines. I like the guy that they're in there trying to buy parts for their spaceship.
Sure.
That guy's just a hoot too. That whole thing.
Yeah, they did a great job of really. It did feel real, in terms of course, you're not like, oh yeah, I can go to Tatooine, and frankly, I wouldn't want to, but yeah, like it's a cool thing. And you say the thing about the Bantha Poodoo thing, I love that, because Jabba at one point in episode 6, I think, says Bantha Poodoo, like he says that to Han, and so, it all ties everything into it. It's It's pretty cool. When you told me Sebulba was on your list, I was like, that's not going to be on anyone else's list. There's just no way. And it's really cool to, but he's a great character. You're right.
Well, and they're in the
You hate
perfect
him.
spot on Tatooine,
Right.
which has that, what's the name of that cantina? The
Mos Eisley.
Mos Eisley Cantina, which is another thing on my list. It's just got the crew in that place got the sand people. You got the drunken walrus face guy, and
Yeah.
the and then that the music, the band in there, that little jazz band who actually ended up having that song was like a hit. It made the radio charts.
Who did it? Yeah.
And
I'm not surprised.
I just thought if that was like a place I'd hang out if I was younger. Would be in a place with just random chaos. That's just looks like the best place in the world to hang out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you'd fit right in with that wretched hive of scum and villainy, wouldn't you?
Exactly. I'm not. I don't know if I'd be patronizing it today, but because my Mrs. X, she probably. I mean, that'd be out of the question. But
Yeah,
I love that
she wouldn't
cantina. Love the cantina.
Oh, it's so iconic. I feel like that's when Star Wars almost just comes to life. Because before then, this is episode 4, and you're in a desert, and you got a whiny brat and some old man and some weird robot things, and sure there's a space battle and stuff, but then you for the most part it's a couple weird creatures that live on this planet, but mostly just humans and other things you can kind of anticipate or relate to, and then you go into the cantina and it's just like, oh wow, there is a lot going on here.
It's all happening. It's
Yeah.
all happening.
It is. Humans are the minority there. It's pretty neat.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one. And one of them I just really find fairly fascinating was that Admiral Ackbar, the leader of the Rebel Alliance, kind of fish-headed guy. He's got his eyes out here on the side.
He's actually called a Mon Calamari. That's his species, is a calamari.
All right,
fish.
which is,
It's kind of a funny little tongue-in-cheek there, but
I always liked it. He's got that immortal line, when, it's a trap.
it's a trap. Yeah, yeah.
Get out of there.
Oh yeah, he's one of the most iconic Star Wars characters out there, almost, and yet I wouldn't call him one of my. Most people he wouldn't make a top 5 list most of the time.
Well, he's not he's not a main character who's always there doing stuff. He's standing at the helm, giving orders and coming up with strategy. And
Sure.
he finally figured out that it's a trap.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's one of those things though. They make it so plausible, these weird fish creatures on a spaceship, and you're like, how did you come to be part of a rebellion against the Empire? What's your story? That's so weird, but it must be cool. I'm down with it.
Well, he's
it adds depth, though.
through hard work and being smart. He was an admiral in the fleet. So.
Yeah, he knew his business. And as it stands, he actually made it all the way to episode 8 before they just ignominiously killed him off, just randomly. But
well, when he's there, it's going to be pretty solid. Whatever he's doing is not going to be risky and chancy, and it's gonna, it's well thought out and laid out.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. You're like, oh, if he's involved, it's legitimate. It may end up failing, but you got to take it seriously.
Yeah, like Han Solo. I mean, that guy is just a wild cannon.
Right? You're like, I don't know. Han's involved? Well, maybe.
You probably know it's going to work out because, well, he's a star, but...
Right, yeah, like, if you can read the script, you know it's going to work out in the long run, but yeah, like Admiral Ackbar does add, like, even though he doesn't have a ton of screen time, he does just add that level of solid, leadership.
That, like, maybe they do have a chance because of Admiral Ackbar.
Yeah.
So I suppose another one that I've kind of liked, and so I guess I'm more versed in the earlier movies.
Sure.
I've watched all the other ones, but I haven't watched them as much. So anyways, when the Ewoks first came on the scene, I thought this is going to be good. This is a pretty fantastic creature. It's only, comes up to your, I don't know how tall they are, up to your knees, up to X's knee anyway. But they're fierce as hell, tall. And they got that. They're all decked out in their little hoodies, their little leather hoodies, and battling the AT-AT machines out there in the woods and everything. I don't know. Who would have guessed that those little things would, at the end, would actually play a big role in or help defeating one of the Death Stars,
Yeah, like the Galactic Empire. They're like, a bunch of little weird little creatures in leather hoodies, like you say. Like, who's going to do it?
And they kind of end up making a difference there at the end, so... I don't know. I'm thinking Ewoks probably everybody's favorite, but
people have given George Lucas some flack over it, like a bunch of teddy bears and whatever.
Right.
But I've always loved Ewoks. I don't know. Like, people want to get on their high horse and, like, they're not really a Star Wars creature. Like, they don't belong there. Well, do you really think they could beat the Empire? I'm like, we're talking about a movie with, like, explosions in space and fish creatures piloting, admiraling entire fleets and, and Greedo shooting first. No, he doesn't shoot first. But, like, we're in this universe of, sound in space, all this stuff. Why can't we have these creatures? And I love it, man. One of my favorite parts is when, they're all captured and the rebels they failed, and then the Ewoks come on the scene and they blow their horn, doo 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 doo, and all of the Empire's like, wait, what is this? What's happening? And they're signaling these horns all around them, and the Imperials, it begins to dawn on them that they're screwed. Like, they don't know what's happening, and that that's suddenly out of control. And yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite parts, actually. So I love that. I love that you picked up on that. I do like them a lot.
Yep. Yeah, the Ewoks on the forested moon of Endor.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what 1, 2, 3, 4. So
one thing about Ewoks before you go on, just for the people listening, I just think it's fascinating. Everyone knows they're Ewoks. Everyone, like, that's their title. There's even a TV show that they made in the mid 80s called Ewoks and stuff, but never in the movie itself do they mention that they're Ewoks. Like, when people left the building, like when they walked out, if maybe it was in the credits or something, but like if people walked out the door right after the movie was done, they'd be like, man, those little murder bear things,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they are, like little weird things. Those are pretty cool. Or those are pretty dumb, but then no one knew they were called Ewoks until later. That's not actually, that word is never uttered in episode 6. So just thought that was interesting, but good choice, Dad. So your last one.
Wedge Antilles, the guy who just had some he's just a heroic pilot. He does some of the most incredible things. He's in 3 of the movies.
Yeah, I think he's actually in episode 9 as well, just as a small cameo. But yeah, 3 that he actually has a good role in.
But he's never really given his due. They never really after they destroy a Star War, a Death Star, because of him, basically, and then he's got a lot to do with it, and then they're all walking up, getting their medals and in a parade and everything. But where's Wedge Antilles? They never really gave him his due.
Yeah, he's probably in the ranks, like saluting there,
Yeah. And so I just think he's just one of my favorites, just an unsung hero, and he is certainly a hero in my estimation in the movies. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, Luke can't even destroy a walker with his ship, and Wedge goes in and takes him out. And then the next movie, Wedge goes in. He's like, "All right, well, we've already torched one Death Star. Let's do it again." Yeah. I love that you said him too. Like, and all of this is all totally unprompted by me, guys. By the way, it's cool to see. Like, I think someone else picked up on how cool he was. They made a whole series on Wedge Antilles' Rogue Squadron afterward. As him as the commanding officer, and he kind of gets his due then as a heroic pilot. But in the movies, you're right. Like, by the end of episode 6, I guess he's Red Leader. So yeah, he's a squadron leader who leads 12 ships or whatever. But like, he doesn't get sung to the heavens as a hero like Han, who's like, "Hey, I got captured by the Imperials and my plan failed. I had to have some murder bears, whatever they're called, come rescue us."
Exactly.
And they're like, "No, you're a hero. Wedge, go stand over there." Like, you're right. It's kind of just a funny thing how he does all the hard work, all the good heroic stuff, and the heroes they're like, "I got captured again. Come save me, someone. So someone has to save them."
I'll just, here's a bonus one. I think whoever works for Jabba the Hutt should get a thumbs up, because you're probably not going to last too long.
Yeah.
What random chaos and murder and devastation is around that Jabba. I just who's that? I think the one guy that lasted the longest was that guy with the brain thing that wraps around, the brain tail.
The brain tails, yeah.
You see him.
Ben Fortuna is his name.
He kind of lasts a little while, but everybody else just it's just got to be a bad job to get. You go home to the wife. "Oh, I got a job. I'm working now, but it's for Jabba the Hutt."
Yeah, she's like, "Wait, what?" Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Dad. It's fun to talk about Star Wars with you. It's fun to discuss this. I appreciate you putting some time into you compiling a list, getting it ready and stuff. You've got a lot of good points, and I think one thing that I think a lot of fandom is missing are the views of the people who are a little more casual about their fandom in Star Wars, and like the people who don't just watch every movie 20 times before it's out of theaters, and the guys who don't read all the books and the comics, and like people are like, "Well, what was Disney thinking? They were so ridiculous in doing this and this and this," and there's kind of like this groupthink mentality, and people don't realize like there's a ton of people who are just very satisfied with all these characters that they're just bad mouthing, and they think everyone hates them because it's everyone they talk to. The other hardcore people who they've all talked themselves into this line of thinking, and they don't stop to consider, like, there's a lot of very satisfying little things about Star Wars that these theory these content creators are just not looking at. So I think your take is super valuable, in fact. So,
well, we've been fans of the whole Star Wars thing since before you were born.
Yeah, I know. I came in on the scene, after the second movie or the third movie was even out, or was released. So, yeah, you've had a chance.
So, so here's one tidbit of knowledge. When he was a young shaver, a young Jedi, he would get a little, like a piece of wood sword or whatever, or a screwdriver or whatever he could pick up, and he was barely talking, and he'd call it a life slaver, lightsaber, life slaver. And so that was a lot of fun there for a while.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
If you remember that.
Yeah. I remember I asked you if you had a life slaver once, and you were like, yes, go ask your grandma. She probably had no idea what I was asking her. She hooked me. She ended up hooking me up with like an old flashlight that kind of had the same hilt. I was like,
Right.
like looking back, I'm like, that was pretty wise of her. Like she took the batteries out, and she's just like, here, like that's about perfect, like the hilt, and I can pretend like there's a blade. I mean, everyone has to pretend like that anyway. So, yeah, she actually done, old Grandma X. She knew her business.
So we've been battling the Death Stars for quite a while.
We have indeed. All right, Padre. Thank you. Thanks for the interview. I have no idea what form this interview is gonna take, but for now, I appreciate you, Dad, and we'll hopefully see more of you as time goes on.
Yep. See you guys.